Protein requires more energy to basically process it.
Correct. So if you look at, like say fats, for example, TEF is about 0 to 3%, meaning if you eat 100 calories from dietary fat, you capture about 97 to 100 calories of it. Carbohydrates, about 5 to 10%. So if you eat 100 calories from carbohydrate, you capture about 90 to 95 calories from it. A lot of that depends on the fiber content. The more fiber, the lower the metabolizable energy. So fiber actually has a higher thermic effect to food as well. Then protein is about 70, 80%. So if you eat 100 calories from protein, you capture about 70 to 80 calories. So some people out there will say, well, there's negative calorie. No, those don't exist. You're always getting more energy out of it than you put in, but some are lower than others, right? And so that TEF is about 5 to 10% of the energy you expend per day. So now we've got BMR, TEF, and then you have your physical activity, which we can further break into two different buckets. The first one is obvious, which is exercise, right? You go to the gym, burn some calories, and that's energy out. The second one is less intuitive. It's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT. And that is the small unconscious movements that you make per day. I'll give you an example. Like what I'm doing, like now it's not subconscious because I'm thinking about it, but fidgeting, when you're talking with your hands, pacing, right? In fact, they've actually shown that people who have a more, what they call it, obese resistant phenotype, when they eat more, they tend to just become spontaneously more active without realizing it. And so people who are more obese prone, when they eat more food, they tend to not compensate by becoming more spontaneously active.
Oh, interesting.
And people, it's kind of pedantic, but it's important to understand the difference. I'll hear people say, well, I'm going to take the steps and get my NEAT up. No. You made a decision, that's exercise, okay? The reason being, NEAT really isn't consciously modifiable, right? And so I'll give you an example, like an extreme example of this. So when I was getting ready for my last bodybuilding show back in 2010, the fatigue that you deal with is unbelievable. It's hard to describe in words. Soul crushing would be a way to describe it. And I had gotten done, I'd trained 2 hours at the gym that day. I'd done an hour of cardio, got home, and I remember I sat down on the couch, and my wife at the time, she had like Real Housewives of whatever county on the TV. I hated those shows, but the remote was about 7 feet away. I watched the entire show. I did not get up and move because I was so fatigued. That's an example of NEAT, and NEAT is very modifiable. So they've shown that even a 10% reduction in body weight can reduce NEAT by up to 400 or 500 calories per day. So a lot of people end up moving less without even realizing it. So here's the rub. So you've got your calories in, you've got your calories out, BMR plus TEF plus NEAT plus exercise. People think of these two things as static. They're not static. And that's what I talk about in the book a lot. We have various adaptations that fight us for weight loss. First of which is on the metabolism side. When you lose body weight, your BMR drops. But part of that is because you're carrying around less weight, right? So if I'm 200 pounds and I drop down to 180 pounds, I just have less mass to carry around. And so your BMR goes down a little bit.